just give you a little introduction by talking a little bit about the numbers of the Arduino community that keeps growing. You know, we recently broke through the number of 100 million unique visits in a year to the website. So there's basically, well, at least 30 million people have taken the time to at least click once on the Arduino website. And that gives you the size, the incredible size that this community has. And obviously, you know, not all of those 30 million people are making stuff. Huh? But in a way, you know, there are at least 30 million people out there that are interested in understanding how they can use electronics as a creative medium. Another thing that's a good indication of what's going on right now is the fact that we have over 10 million, that's another barrier, 10 million downloads of the IDE. So this gives you an indication of maybe the number of people that are using the Arduino software on a sort of continuing basis, because obviously some of these downloads are multiple downloads from the same person keeping up to date. We keep releasing new versions, and you know, we keep adding new technologies. And so, for example, the IDE for me, it's a way to actually touch on something that we've been working on. We obviously, you know, we keep developing the classic IDE. A lot of people use it, but then obviously we were interested in understanding if there was a way that we could create a platform that could allow people to program their favorite Arduinos using only a browser, which is something that's been sort of very popular right now to use to move applications to the cloud. And, you know, there's a bunch of IDEs out there online. What we wanted to do was to create a platform, and this is what we call the Create platform, where you not only have a development environment, but you have several applications that are actually talking together, that are designed to enable what is one of the classic workflows that makers do. A lot of makers look at an example that somebody else has built, or they look at a tutorial. They take that tutorial and they build it, and after that they start hacking the code to actually make it more similar to what they want to build. And this is a classic workflow. So we wanted to figure out if there was a way that on top of just having, you know, and this is the Arduino Create IDE, it lives in the cloud. It is free thanks to a generous sponsorship by Amazon AWS. They gave us a bunch of servers specifically so that we could provide the service for free to people. But also we work with our friends at Hackster.io. Okay, I like the fact that there's some Hackster fans in the audience. So we work with them to integrate their platform, customize sort of the Arduino user experience into the system. So now you can see different projects that are under Create. We have over 1,000 manually vetted, verified examples. So these are tutorials that you can actually build. This is something that is certified works. And there's also thousands of others that are, you know, sometimes people post half-finished tutorials, and they're all good stuff. So, but those 1,000 are actually manually verified. So we created a workflow that enables that, you know, way of working that I described before. So for example, if you see an example, this air quality sensor tower was something that was very popular at the Maker Faire in San Mateo. A bunch of people asked, oh, where can I buy this? And I thought, wow, we should have made a few of them. You know, we just gave away the knowledge for free. There you go. So the idea is we have this product, which is actually that is code. And there is also, we also share like the 3D models, so you can actually print the case, you can assemble the circuit. This connects to another part of Create that we call the Arduino Cloud. So the idea is that you see a tutorial that you like, you can press a button, you can see the tutorial, there's a button that says Add, and then by pressing that button, you automatically import that tutorial as a project in your own space on Create. And then even the instruction how to assemble the project end up inside the sketch, because we're expanding the format of the Arduino sketch to accommodate schematics, layouts, bill of materials, and a bunch of other things that represent a project. Because when a maker makes a project, it's not only about the software, it's not about the hardware, it's a combination of a bunch of things, including instructions, documentation, so all of that together. And then we also added this part. Sensor tower reads temperature, humidity, air quality, and sends it to the cloud. So we created a tool that makes it fairly simple to attach a device to the network. These are some screenshots of how you create a new device. And basically, when you create a device, you get these IDs that you can put into your code, and the device connects to the cloud, and then you can define what properties this thing has, and it automatically generates code for you. And if you press a button again, that code goes back into create, and you can start building your own connected device. So you just fill in the blanks, and your device connects to the cloud, and you can control it. And so, as I mentioned, this is kudos to Amazon for helping us do that. But actually, after we sort of built this, and we continue to expand it and to increase the different functionality that we embed into this product, we started to think, okay, this is great for people that know how to code. This is great for people that have an understanding of what it means to create a cloud service. This is good for somebody who is comfortable about taking a breadboard, plugging some wires in, doing some hardware debugging. So we make a lot of open source tools to help people do that. But it still requires a lot of knowledge. And we, obviously, as I said, if I go to create register now, start using it, there's already thousands of people on it. It makes it very easy to share knowledge and code between people. But we really thought, can we go one step forward? Can we imagine a tool that will allow somebody to identify an opportunity and build a device, a connected device? Because the world we live in is a world where everything is becoming connected. There are connected toasters, and there are connected fish tanks. There's even a company that makes like an IoT floss. Obviously, people are experimenting with connecting anything to the internet, So there is obviously a strong interest in that kind of applications, but still, this thing is restricted because you need to understand about hardware, you need to understand how to program microcontrollers, you need to understand a lot of other things, including how to get your device to communicate to the cloud, and then you need to understand how to write code that lives in the cloud. Some really good tutorials, they tell you, oh, just get a hosting account and upload this PHP code and run it. Well, that is still a huge barrier of entry for a lot of people. There's a lot of knowledge that you need. And the idea really is, how do you enable people to turn an idea they have into something that works? And this is also, for me, something I've been pushing very, very hard because, as I said, the world is increasingly digital. We need to increase the number of people that participate in the innovation process around technology. And engineers do a fantastic work, but there are a limited amount of people. We need more people that take part in that process. If we don't start from children, but also adults don't take part in that process, we end up, as a society, as somebody that goes to a shop and buys a piece of technology from a shelf. But effectively, we are limited by the decisions, the choices, and maybe the shady partnerships that some of these companies might have with governments around the world. So there's a number of implications that we as makers have to understand. We need to increase the number of people who participate in this innovation process. We need to increase the number of people who can have a different opinion, that can propose a different solution. So we thought, is there a way that we can create tools that enable people to create connected devices in only a few minutes with no understanding of hardware, software, or cloud development? And so for the last, let's say, 3 years, we've been working on it. And we made a bunch of prototypes, we experimented, and we were even able to take advantage of a European research grant for these European innovation projects. We partnered a consortium with a bunch of other European entities, looking at how you can create such a tool. And so the product of this work that we've been doing is this kit that we call SLO. Essentially, what it is a combination of different components that I'm going to explain to you. That's that URL. If you go on the URL, you go to our Kickstarter. So if you want to participate in this project, because this is not about, our friends at Kickstarter keep saying Kickstarter is not a store. You don't go to Kickstarter to buy a product. You go to Kickstarter to be somebody that makes something happen. People say, I need your help to bring this to the world, to give this to the world. Help me do that. So effectively what we're doing, we're asking people to help us to make this available, because what we do, obviously, it's always open source. So there's the hardware, the software, the protocol, everything will be released as an open source project. So the idea here is that you have a system of intelligent modules. So each one of them is a sensor. So it's, for example, a light sensor or an air quality sensor. Others are actuators, so the LEDs, relays, buzzers, whatever. Each one of them contains a tiny little computer. So there's a tiny little microcontroller. So that each sensor knows already how to operate. So you don't have to be super code in order to tell the sensor how to work. And you can either connect them. There's a little module where you can snap the modules on. And so you have this thing you see on the left that says 1, 2, 3. That's the wireless stuff. That's a Wi-Fi device that securely connects to our cloud and can be powered by a rechargeable battery. So it's got a LiPo battery like your smartphone. And then you can snap on top of that the modules that you need to build your application, or you can use these cables. Once you plug the modules together, you will go to a new application inside Create, where all the modules that you just plugged in show up automatically, because the system recognizes the modules automatically. So the blue modules, they are either sensors or actuators, and they give you directly information about what they provide. If I am a temperature sensor, what I provide is the measurement of temperature. At the moment, if you use Arduino, you get an abstract integer number. You need to apply some kind of a formula to calculate the temperature. In this case, it's just temperature. Then you have these brown modules that represent some kind of logic. So you can create applications by drawing lines between the different modules. The way we design the modules, it's already in a way that each module has some kind of a maker ID. So when we release the protocol, anybody will be able to make modules that are compatible with the system and will be recognized by the system. So we want to create an ecosystem that is as large as the Arduino ecosystem now. So when you create all of that, you see that in the corner there is a little cloud. So whatever you connect with the line to that cloud ends up on the cloud. So you open a web page that represents this device, and you get a web interface that lets you interact directly with all the different elements. So for example, a temperature can be shown as a graph, or it can be shown as a slider, because if you're creating a thermostat, you want to be able to do that. And you can also open this on a mobile phone, so the idea is that if I want to solve maybe a problem or identify an opportunity I want to build something around, I can quickly build a device, bring it online, and then this will give me a URL. I can connect it with my phone, and I can interact with the device right away. So it works. It just solves something immediately. The initial batch is 25 different types of modules, but we have a bunch of prototypes, but we've selected this 25. And here is a little example of what happens if you take, for example, 3 modules at a time. You can build a fitness monitor, you can build an air quality sensor, you can build a toy, you can build a tracker. So in a sort of more high-end version of the kit, there is a precision GPS module, so you can build trackers, irrigation system, thermostats, all sorts of other devices. So just by plugging 3 modules on this wireless hub and turning it on, you have a working IoT device with no understanding of hardware, software, cloud development. And I think that's important because it enables a bunch of people to innovate, to participate in the innovation process. And this is very important, as I'm going to stress that a lot. I met a lot of people by going around the world and talking about what we do. There's a story I told multiple times of me getting into a taxi in Barcelona in Spain and realizing the taxi driver not only was learning about Arduino, but was planning to start a hardware startup making motorized dollies for cameras. And this guy looked at me in the rearview mirror and recognized me from the videos I made on YouTube. So he stopped the taxi in the middle of the street in Boston, which was like, obviously very dangerous for our life. And while he was driving, he was making the video. There's like the guy driving the taxi doing the selfie. And also he picked up the microphone and started to call all the other taxi drivers, say, hey, the guy from Arduino is in my taxi. And everybody said, yeah, well, whatever. Clearly not every taxi driver in Barcelona is into Arduino. But he was very excited. And I thought, that kind of excitement, it is very important for me. Because, normally you're thinking that people who do innovations are like, these scientists or like super, but actually innovation happens with everyday people. And if you make the tools, people innovate. When we made this IoT challenge with Microsoft and Hackster based on the Maker 1000, we got 5,000 projects submitted that cover all sorts of things. So if you make the tools, people will come and they will use your tools. So it is interesting to see how the Kickstarter is progressing, because actually it's going really slowly. There are other Kickstarters where you make a Kickstarter with something that's got kids and a bunch of blinking LEDs on it, and boom, you sell everything like in 2 days. And the fact that we are struggling, climbing, this mountain slowly, for me it's very important, because every time you propose something that's a piece of infrastructure, obviously a lot of people have a hard time understanding, is it for me, is it something that I want to do? I don't know. So it's going to take time for us to explain to people why we think this is important, but if you can help spread the word, that would be super, super fantastic. And I think it opens the door for a new phase of, for Arduino to increase the number of people we can talk to. So again, and for me, this is not about yet another tool for education. It is about something that can be used by people to solve real-life problems. I think it's very important. And so please support the Kickstarter. I give you the URL. It's j.mp/slov_IoT if you want to type the whole URL, which is not this long. All right, so, and there's one last thing I want to talk about today, which is something that I've been working on, and we've been working on for a long, long time. And it is a very important project. So, it is, I've been on a lot of big affairs on this stage, talking about what we do, talking about the achievement of the Maker community, the achievement of the Arduino community, and it's always mostly been some exciting news. But not always, not always been exciting news. There has been times where I had to kind of give you bad news. And it's not a secret that in the last, 2 years there has been some fundamental disagreement in the original team of Arduino founders, which then kind of produced this strange situation of having 2 Arduino companies. And so there was a lot of, let's say, debate between these two kind of parts of the community in the last couple of years. And when you feel that something is wrong, your natural reaction is to start to kind of fight that. But then what happens is that you kind of start to get really involved in that particular, quote unquote, let's say, arguing and fighting. And then you kind of start, you stop I think what happens is that you stop listening. You don't stop listening to what's going on in the world, you stop listening to what's going on around you. And one of the people say that one of the biggest problems in the communication is that you listen to reply, but you don't listen to understand. So, if you've seen that I haven't been, or we haven't been communicating a lot in the last 6 months, because I spent the last 6 months really listening to understand. And so we have been discussing with the other party in this kind of dispute, and figuring out how to understand each other and how to recognize the contribution that both of us made to bring the Arduino ecosystem where it is now. So we're all both the two engines that took the movement up to a certain point. And in a way, you realize that when you do that, you stop having time to talk to people, you stop having time to innovate, you wasted a lot of energy. So we did invest a lot of time to try to figure out how this could become a new phase, a new direction for Arduino. And that negotiation produced an insane amount of discussions, arguing, not always agreeing on everything, but then finally, I think we come to an understanding. And a few days ago, me and the CEO of the company behind Arduino.org were able to sign a pretty hefty amount of documents that kind of take a picture of where we want to take Arduino in the future. And so we found an agreement on how to solve this issue that's been a bit of a burden for the community makers, the reseller, the people involved in the Arduino ecosystem. If we want to take a step forward, if we want to do something amazing and take a big jump into the future, we needed to, come to peace, come to the point that we understand and work with each other. So I would like to invite on stage Federico Musto, who is the CEO of Arduino SRL, because to announce the release. We spend some time listening, maybe even sometimes a little bit fighting, but we're both Italian. So sometimes when we look at we're fighting, we're actually just talking. It's just because of the gesticulation and all that. So I want to thank Federico for responding to an email I sent a while ago saying, Federico, while we are fighting, the world is moving, and we are not impacting on the world, we're just impacting on each other's life. And then I want to thank you for reading that email and replying back, not F you, but... So, okay, I want to close this session by saying that, it's going to take a while for us to kind of complete this work that we're doing. The whole process is a little bit complicated to explain, so don't expect us to explain to you right now. We just wanted to tell you that this thing is happening. And then we want to take Arduino and its community and the maker movement to the next level, and we can only do it together. And because love, open source is love.